right second time. Okay, so welcome. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, in this lovely environment. We're at the Walter Sisulu National Botanical Gardens, I believe is the official title, but doesn't really matter what it's called. It's about getting into nature. So it's a great space to come and do this kind of spiritual practice, I suppose. Close to nature helps the mind just to maybe let go of some of the normal patterns of thought and behavior. If you've noticed, when you leave the city, if you're going on holiday or something, you go out into the bush or whatever, it's like you get half an hour out of Joburg and suddenly there's this peace descends, and it's like, wow, just leaving this miasma of mental activity that we're in. You're in a city, it's all the stuff going on, and it's like a fish in water. You don't even know you're in it, you're swimming in it, and it's only when you leave it that you go, oh wow, there's something different. That's why, if you go into nature, that activity isn't there anymore. There's still a fair amount of it here, but even here, because we're a little bit more into nature, you feel a little bit like, actually there's a bit of a... And I think intuitively that's why people come to places like this, because it's a relief from the normal kind of mind chatter that they experience, isn't it? So what I'm going to guide you through today, what I'm going to guide you through today is just a bit of breathing, some basic breath work. I'm just going to do what I call the fundamentals of breath work. So it's a very, very simple breath. You might have done it in some of your meditation classes or yoga classes, but I'll go through it again. And then we're just going to sit and breathe and just watch your breath for maybe 15 or 20 minutes to see how that goes. It's very, very simple. It's the most simple meditation practice you can ever do, but it's very, very powerful. So this technique is based on what the Buddha, you've heard of the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, who founded Buddhism. So he had his own spiritual journey, and in the process of coming to his enlightenment, he found that the most helpful thing for him was just sitting and breathing. Just sitting and watching his breath for hours and hours took him into a state of surrender, and we call enlightenment, where you just, there's not much thought. You're just at peace with yourself. There's a sense of peace, a sense of bliss, even at the highest level, and just watching his breath took him there. So that technique has been carried down the centuries, and it's now called Vipassana. Just simple breath watching, and you watch the body as well. Just watch the sensations of the breath in the body while you do this, and that's all you do. If the mind wanders, you just bring it back. You go, okay, just keep watching the breath, because your mind wants you to think all the time. So if you find your mind going down a track and wanting to think, then just go, no, I'm just going to bring it gently back into an awareness of the breath. Okay. So the way you breathe, very simple. Just sit either cross-legged, or what I prefer is putting the soles of your feet together. Okay, that's quite a nice posture. Doesn't put quite as much stress on the knees. If you sit cross-legged for a long time, I find I get sore knees, and I did that for a couple of years and found that I wasn't walking too well. So you don't want to damage your body, just like that. So you get a little stretch in your groin as well. And what I do is hold the feet together. Yeah, so that's a nice posture. And then you keep your back straight. Okay, so you engage your core. You know how to engage your core. Just kind of like lock in the sphincter muscle, which is the muscle you use to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. And if you lock that in, that engages the core automatically, and that holds this whole core tight. Okay, so your back is reasonably straight. If you do this for a long time, you can sit on a cushion. You sit on a cushion that's slightly raised, that helps a little bit. gives your back a bit of support, but we're good here. You actually are not in a bad spot there because you've got a slight elevation, so yeah. Well done. So this is how the breathing goes. It's a deep nasal breath. Okay? So yogic breathing is called belly breathing or pranayama. Diaphragmatic breathing is sort of a modern term. It's just a simple nasal breath. You breathe in through your nose, and as you do that, you should notice that your diaphragm pushes out. So just try a breath. You feel the diaphragm pushing out, okay? And then the chest rising. So you pause briefly at the top of the inhale. Just notice there's some space. Notice the gap between breaths. A little bit of space. You can close your eyes. And then you exhale. So as you exhale, just sigh it out. So if you make a little sighing sound in the back of your throat, it's as though you're fogging sunglasses but you keep your mouth closed. That's called the Ujjayi sound. And then again, pause at the bottom of the exhale. Just notice some space in the gap between breaths. And then you breathe in again. And just notice the stomach rise first, then the chest rise. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just notice your other body sensations. So, what you're feeling and touching. Just subtle flow of air on your skin, maybe. Pause at the top of the inhale. Smile. And then exhale. Just sighing it all out. Just letting it all go. And feeling yourself just relaxing a little bit more with each breath. So remind yourself there's really nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. Nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, and be still. Breathing in again. Just notice how the stomach rises, the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale, smile. Just notice that there's some space, some awareness opening up in your mind. And when you exhale, make a little sighing sound in the back of your throat, as though you're fogging sunglasses but keep your mouth closed. Sigh it all out. Notice the chest and the stomach sucking back in. Pause at the bottom of the exhale. And then smoothly into the next inhale. So just get into a nice rhythm with the breath. You're just breathing nice deep slow inhales, brief pause the top of the inhale, the bottom of the exhale. And just put 100% of your focus, your attention on your breath. Just noticing the breath, watching the breath. And by tuning in to the breath and all the sensations around the breath, find that you're going inward. Attention is going within into a place of stillness. And if you find your mind wanting to wander, wanting to think about the past or the future, or you find yourself getting annoyed about the noise and people talking, it's all perfect, because this is how life is. Life's continuously trying to distract you from going within, from going deeper into your mind. So just ignore all those distractions. Just refocus on the breath. Put all your attention on the breath. And with each breath, just sinking a little bit deeper. And letting yourself go deeper and deeper into this very calm, still, quiet place. It's beyond the mind, it's beyond the noise and the chatter and the busyness of this world. Just let the breath take you there. It's a little portal to eternity, to infinity. And just let peace arise naturally. You don't have to try and be happy, try and be peaceful. You just watch your breath and you allow it to happen. You cannot seek for happiness. This was one of the key insights of the Buddha. He said you cannot ever find happiness through desire of any kind. So even the desire for happiness is going to sabotage you finding that happiness, because you're desiring it, you're not experiencing it. Something to come in the future. Well, that's the way you set it up, then it's always going to be just out of reach, just around the corner, but not now. So what this practice does is it brings your attention, your focus completely into the here and now, which is the only time there really is. And in that now, if you're just completely present in that, you will find that happiness, peace, love, joy naturally arise. These are words to describe what is really an indescribable state. So just allow the breath to take you there. Such a simple thing that we do all day, every day, but mostly unconsciously. And just by putting some awareness on the breath, find that it's really pretty transformational. It's a very, very powerful spiritual technique, just watching your breath. Gives the mind something to do rather than obsessively thinking. And at the same time, notice your sensations, body sensations around the breath. So the stomach rising, chest rising, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Smile at the top of the inhale. And then you exhale, just sigh it all out. So make that slight Ujjayi sighing sound. It's called Ujjayi breath in yoga. And just focus on that, the sound, the vibration in your throat. And just sinking a little bit deeper. Just going more deeply with each breath. Into the stillness, into the peace. There's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Just step back mentally and just watch your breath. It's as though the breath is breathing you. It's happening to you, through you, and for you. Without any conscious effort, no stressing, straining, or striving. You just watch the breath. And you stay in peace. And just do that for a few minutes. Silence, just ignore everything else, all distractions, all noise. And just focus 100% of your attention on the breath. And let it take you into whatever state it wants to for the next few minutes of silence. If you notice any pains in the body, anything arising, wants to distract you, you want to focus on the discomfort, the pain. Just focus on the breath. Just bring your attention back into the breathing. Let that take you a little bit deeper. Just going deeper and deeper into your own mind, into a place where, irrespective of what's happening on the surface level in the body, none of these sensations really matter. There's just a quiet, there's a peace, a stillness that reigns supreme forever. It's always there. So just sink into that. Surrender, it's called. Just by watching your breath, you surrender into the stillness and the silence. So just do that for another few minutes. Deep silence. So just gently bring some awareness into your body sensations. So noticing all the subtle sensations of the breath. So stomach rising, chest rising, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Maybe you feel a flow of air on your skin. There's a lovely cooling breeze. Smile at the top of the inhale. Pause. And exhale. Just sighing it all away. Letting it all go. Air flows out of your nostrils. Chest and the stomach suck back in. Pause again at the bottom of the exhale. So that's 1. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. 2. Just noticing the weight of your body pressing down into the floor, feet touching the ground. Feel like you're grounded. Just grounding yourself back into this so-called reality, this world. Breathe in again, and as you breathe in, notice maybe there's a subtle smell in your nose, a taste in your mouth. And notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. But don't name anything or judge it or label it. So sounds, sights, just allow them to arise and subside. There's no judgment. This is what it means to be non-attached or detached. It's only when the mind interprets our sense perceptions and gives them a meaning that we encounter difficulties. So on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just look around. Just noticing everything in this very calm, detached way. So you're not trying to name anything or judge it or label it. Just allow everything to be. This is non-judgmental perception. You should notice that you feel quite peaceful. There's a calmness that's there that maybe wasn't there half an hour ago. That was half an hour, by the way. Which may not have felt like. So just notice how you feel now. It's always good to notice any change in state. Because the more you notice that, the more you pay attention to your inner states, the more you actually start to choose peace. You start to prefer a peaceful state. Because you know what it feels like, as opposed to feeling all inturbulated, I call it. Your peace is disturbed by various thoughts and emotions. So that was a little taste of breathwork, and actually that's arguably the most powerful technique. There's many others, but just the simplicity of it, just to sit still and just watch your breath and watch all the sensations of the breath. takes the mind into a very still place, doesn't it? So imagine if you did that for hours and hours a day.
That's hard.
Yeah, but if you're willing to do it, I'm planning to go and do a Vipassana course, which is a 10-day meditation. You sit for like 10, 11 hours a day in meditation. Because I've done quite a lot of this, but never for longer than maybe, I suppose the longest I've meditated for was maybe 2 hours. This is like, okay, you just sit and you just breathe. You just watch, and whatever arises, you just keep returning your attention to the breath. And if you,
normal that you think of other things.
Yeah.
And then,
it's called the monkey mind. Buddhists call it the monkey mind. Why? Because what do monkeys do? Oh, they always like, what's that? What's that? They're always trying to grab stuff. And so that's the monkey mind. It's always trying to grab on to a thought and go, oh, think about that. Think about that. Because it wants you to keep thinking. And the opposite of that is this movement towards no thought or no mind. Now, that doesn't mean that you have no awareness. It just means you're not thinking consciously. Because where does all that conscious thinking get you, really? Most of it's pretty dysfunctional. Most of it just disturbs your peace. Sometimes you need to, if you're going to operate in this world, okay, so some level of thinking is required, but not the obsessive compulsive thinking that most people engage in over all the time, because that's just dysfunctional, and it really serves no purpose other than to make them worried, stressed, negatively affects their health, their well-being, and worry never solved anything.
but the sad thing, society says it's normal. It's normal to constantly worry about the future.
Yeah. So what's normal, what we consider normal, is not really normal. This is what spiritual teachers down the ages have said. In every society, in every age, there have been people like the Buddha, like Jesus, like Lao Tzu, like, you know, there's many in history who come and they say, hang on, this isn't really normal. What you think is normal and functional isn't really, because there's this other dimension that you're completely missing. And so that's the upside down world we live in. What seems to be normal is actually abnormal. What seems to be weird and strange, most people go, what, you sat in the park and you just breathed? Or like, you know, I'm going to go breathe for 10 days. Just sit and breathe for 10 days. And they're like, what's that all about? Like, surely you want to do something, you want to like get out, you want to meet people, you want to socialize, you want to watch TV, you want to play with your phone, you want to whatever. Because the mind, that's all mind activity. The mind loves all this. So we've created a world where, remember, the mind creates what it wants. And then it's just a self-perpetuating reality. So you want distractions. The mind wants food for thought, so it creates a society where there's constant food for thought, there's constant distraction. Social media and internet and these busy, hectic lives to distract you from the simple truth that actually you are already whole, complete, perfect, and at peace already. You don't actually need any of the external stuff. None of it really serves any purpose but to distract you. So most people go, wow, that's quite radical. But if you really look, if you really inquire yourself, you start to see that this is actually true. Actually, none of these things, all these distractions, what do they really do for you? Maybe a fleeting sense of satisfaction. You might, you know, get something new, you might buy something new, you might have an experience, you go somewhere, oh, that was nice, that was amazing, great day, but it's very fleeting, it's over in a moment. What this is pointing to is something that's permanent and eternal. Doesn't go away. That can stay there with you always, because it's your own awareness. Can't really leave you. How can your own awareness leave you? It's the very essence of who you are. It's the very essence of your life. The illusion we live under in this society is that somehow you're disconnected from that. Somehow you need something external to you to fulfill you. And we have a whole economy based on that. You need stuff. Okay, well, there's always someone who's willing to give you what you think you need, or if you don't think you need it, they'll try and convince you that you need it. It's called marketing. You need this in order to be happier, better, more successful, richer, more famous, cooler, whatever. You know, you watch how marketing works. It's very educational. It's like, okay, they're trying to sell you alcohol, but how do they sell it? Oh no, this is going to make you cooler. And they like have pictures of guys like really cool, smooth, you know, sipping or they'll have it in a nice location. People are fly fishing. What they're trying to do is create a whole experience in your mind. Go, oh, you know, if I drink the drink, then I'll have that experience, which is totally false. So it's not the case. It's just alcohol, and it's gonna give you an experience, yes, but it's not gonna give you that experience. It's gonna numb your senses, and it's gonna actually take you into a lower state of consciousness. Well, that's just one example. So when you start to just practice this, just breathing and just simple breath watching, if you do this every day as a regular practice, you start to see things differently. It changes your perception of the world, it changes your perception of life, and you start to what's called awaken. Well, the Buddha means the awakened one. In is it Sanskrit or is it Pali? I think it might be Pali, but never mind. It means the awakened one in whatever language it is. And that's what we're all actually trying to do. And most people don't even know why they're here. You know, we're here to have a good time, and there's nothing wrong with being with friends and family. But what most people are missing is the present moment. So you notice how people compulsively talk, chatter. What are they chattering about? It's just like la 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 la. So the mind just it's like thought, and I'm just gonna expel it in my words. And there's no real presence there. There's no like, well, what am I actually talking about here? Is there any real value in what I'm saying? So you start to just observe how the mind works and how that plays out in people. And there's no judgment. You're just like, okay, I'm not condemning anyone. Just that's how it is. You need to come into that state of quite detached, just being the observer, the witness. And just by watching your breath as you did, that trains you to do it, doesn't it? Because you're just watching. There's no like attachment to even the pain that you feel. Let's say, did you experience a bit of pain? Yeah. Eh?
I felt like I was gonna faint.
Really? Was it that bad? Okay.
No, but then after a while, when I really did concentrate on
breathing.
And I also realized that it's so funny when you're just focusing on your breathing and thinking of nothing else. I feel like the noise levels outside were even like higher. I could hear the birds, like things that I didn't hear when I was just like when I had just arrived. I just noticed like even how the wind was blowing on my skin. It was just like, wow. And then my mind would just drift in and I'd think of something else and I'd be like, no, focus.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Well, that's the practice. Just keep bringing it back. Your mind's going to wander, bring it back. When you notice you've wandered away, bring it back. Very simple. It's nothing, it's not rocket science technique, no massive complication. You just need to sit and breathe. But there's the very simplicity of it is why it works.
And I think maybe it's hard because it's something that we don't usually do, just to sit and listen to it. It's something so ordinary but out of the ordinary.
Yeah. I call it extraordinary ordinary. Because, okay, you're just sitting and breathing. It's so simple. Very ordinary. You're breathing all the time. You're just putting some awareness in something that you've been doing your whole life. Since the moment you were born, you've been breathing. Okay, unless you've done lots of breath holding stuff like me, which is a bit unusual, but I'm still breathing most of the time. So you're breathing, and yet most people just don't notice this thing that they do all the time, right? The most foundational practice, the thing that keeps you alive, and most people don't even notice it.
Until you get sick and you can't breathe anymore.
Exactly.
You're struggling to breathe.
Which is why you called me, didn't you? You called me because you were having issues. So how was that for you?
Sure. Always lovely doing it. I mean, I've gotten used to it, and just the letting go, just do it. Makes you feel lighter in a way.
Well, awareness is just light. These are words, light. So what does that mean? Is it a physical light? No, it's not a physical light. Some people see light in their meditation. They can see white light or different colored lights. That's possible. That can happen. But actually, true light is just this awareness of like I'm feeling light-hearted. I'm feeling light in my awareness. There's not all these heavy thoughts. And so it's very subtle, but it's very profound. Just by a simple practice of watching your breath, you can absolutely transform your life. It's free. You just have to make the time to do it. So what I'd recommend is, you just start by doing maybe 10 minutes twice a day. You just sit, watch your breath. You can sit outside, you can sit in bed. Just try and make sure you're not going to be disturbed. But even if there's disturbances, doesn't matter. Like, it's actually perfect because there's lots of noise here. But the noise is like incidental. It's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter. That's just a reflection of the external world. Noise and activity but it doesn't have to get to you at all. And then you start training your mind slowly but surely to just go a little bit deeper, to just like, okay, a bit more awareness, more observation, a bit more detachment from your senses and from the mind. And so even 20 minutes a day can be life-changing if you practice it regularly. Because what is your life? Your life is your awareness of whatever's going on, isn't it? That's your experience, moment by moment, makes up what we call life. So if you change your fundamental awareness, okay, so how am I perceiving life? Perceiving it through a filter that's more peaceful, calmer, happier, more contented. Your thoughts change. Your thoughts change. Your thoughts and your emotions. Thoughts create emotions. Thoughts and emotions create your experience, don't they? The external world seems to trigger them, but your thoughts and your emotions are your experience of life, moment by moment. So this starts to change your thought and emotion, which is the foundation of your life, your experience of life. So, we say life-changing. That's a much used, overused word, especially in personal development. It's life-changing. Because what does that really mean? But that's what it means. If you can change your thought and your emotion on a consistent basis about everything, you've changed your life completely. You've changed your experience of life. Your quality of life is going to be different. And so this is a foundational practice that is life-changing, because if you do it, you will change the quality of your thoughts and your emotions on an ongoing basis, and that's going to change your entire experience of life. Everything now is different because you're perceiving it differently. If you perceive things differently, if you see things differently, you make different decisions, don't you? If you make different decisions in your life, decisions create results. So a lot of people are like, oh, I just want results.
Yeah,
But you've got to go to the very core of it and go, okay, but am I willing to really change my thoughts and emotions? Foundation. It's not just, oh, I want more of this. I want to, this is how a lot of personal development, personal growth works. It's like, we'll give you what you want. Even in meditation circles. I saw a course being advertised recently, and it's really just visualization. It's like, okay, we're going to take you into a calmer state called an alpha state, which is probably what you went into there. It's when your brainwaves just slow down and you're in a kind of nice calm state. And then you're going to put into there what you want. Okay, so you want to manifest something, now you're going to visualize it. You're going to have a screen, you're going to go before, and then how am I going to get there, and then the result afterwards. Have you heard of The Secret? It's the same idea. I want something. Now the underlying assumption behind all of this stuff is that this is going to make you happy. Okay, well, when I get what I think I want, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be in a better state. I'm going to be happy. But what the Buddha noticed 2,500 years ago is he said, this isn't going to make you happy.
We're never satisfied.
Because, this is one of the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism. He said, suffering is part of the human condition, first noble truth. And desire, second noble truth, or craving, or attachment, however you want to phrase it, to things, to stuff, to whatever it is that you think you want. That could be a material thing, it could be money, it could be a relationship. Anything that you think you want, that you think you need, creates an enslavement in the mind. Because now you think you want it. So you're not happy now. Almost like it's so obvious, isn't it? It's like it's a truth that's completely obvious. You're not happy now because you think you need something. So what you're really saying is, I'm not happy now, but at some point in the future, if I get what I think I want, then I'll be happy. So now what you've done is you've deferred your happiness. And you're actually in a state of not being perfectly happy, which is suffering. So he said desire leads to suffering. You'll never achieve happiness by true desire, which is a fundamental truth that, well, you're either going to accept that or not. If you don't accept and you go, no, actually desire is the way I need, well, you're in that rat race of like, I need to get stuff in order to make me happy, and you're always going to be looking outside of yourself for some kind of satisfaction, fulfillment. There's that, that Rolling Stone song, I can't get no satisfaction. Well, that's the modern world. We've created a world where actually we have more sensory experience, more stuff than ever before in history. More stuff, more experiences is available, and yet, is anyone really happy? You generally find the happiest people are the people who've let all that stuff go and gone, actually, I'm not really attached to that. I don't really need any of that stuff. You go to meditation centers or just people who are like, actually, none of this stuff really, there are people like that. They're rare, but I'm not really bothered by the material stuff. And they often lead a pretty simple life, what I call a minimalist life. Okay? So minimalism is just the idea, Mark, I don't need more to be happy. In fact, less is more. If I can simplify my life and I can live more simply, then great. Because all this stuff that I have to, think about and do, that just creates more mind activity, and I'm actually trying to have less mind activity. So you're going in the opposite direction from the way the ego, this is your separate sense of self, wants you to go. Wants you to go, oh, no, you need this, desire this. And then, of course, what goes with desire is fear, doesn't it? Because the more I desire something, the more I fear that I won't have it.
Fear and anxiety.
Yes, they go hand in hand, which is also what the Buddha noticed, right? These are just opposite sides of the same coin. They're movements of the mind, right? I might think, oh, I'm going to be happy if I do. And the more I'm attached to something, the more I think, oh, I really need that. I really need that job. Or I really need that promotion. Or I really need that person in my what does the mind then do? Well, what happens if you don't have it? What happens if you don't get it? Or what happens if you lose it? Maybe you've got it now, but what happens if you lose it? Now you fear loss. And then fear arises. And this all enturbulates the mind. There's no peace there. It's like, oh, well, I'm fearing. And what do? You go out of the moment into the future. And you notice most of your thoughts when you were just sitting and meditating were probably about the future, am I right? Okay, suddenly you zoom into like, oh, you know, what am I going to do for lunch, or what's going to happen the rest of the day, or what about my week tomorrow?
That's so true.
Yeah?
Deadlines.
Here she laughs. Deadlines, because we've all got, you know, stuff that is going to happen in future. But thinking about it now mostly doesn't really help you, unless you're planning for a practical purpose. So I want to do this Vipassana course. Okay, well, I have to fill in the application form. I have to, you know, book a flight, these kinds of things. But you don't have to obsessively think about it. It will unfold when it unfolds. You know, when you need to do something, then you'll get the prompt. Okay, you need to do that now. Okay, well, go online, fill in the form, book the flight, make the phone call, whatever. These transactional things we have to do in our daily lives. But you're doing it now. You're doing it in the moment. That's the key thing, isn't it? So you're not obsessing about it, worrying about it. It's like, okay, I need to do that now. Okay, I do it now. I'm fully present. I do the task. So there's a quality in your doing this that doesn't come when you're not present. And that state where you're doing, but you're still peaceful and you're 100% in the now, I call flow. Not just I call flow, it's a state that's been labeled flow. There's a guy called Csikszentmihalyi who coined this term flow, which isn't really a new idea. I mean, the Buddha understood what flow was. He just didn't call it flow. That's sort of the, you know, modern psychological term, flow. Okay, so you can find this deep peace and stillness in meditation, and that's great. But for most people, they're not going to be able to spend hours and hours a day in meditation. They might spend half an hour max, kind of, that's it. If you can do that, great, because it gives you a deeper experience. It's important to have a foundation, and you deepen your foundation every time you meditate. But then you go into your daily life. Now it's about, okay, how do I stay in that state? I'm still calm, present, focused. There's peace. I'm not having to think a lot. If I need to think, I think, but it's very functional. Okay, yeah, I need to make that call. There'll be a prompt, there'll be something else, make that call. Okay, pick up your phone, do the call, be totally present in the conversation. Okay, finish with that, on to the next thing. In fact, the art of Zen, you've probably heard of Zen Buddhism. It's a part of Buddhism. It developed in Japan. And the art of Zen, one of the Zen masters said, is simply doing one thing at a time. One thing at a time. Because actually what could be simpler? Okay, I'm doing that, so I'm doing that fully, completely, 100%. I'm in the moment. I'm not, you know, we all do it, like multitask. Oh, no, I'm multitasking. And actually I'm not doing anything particularly well, because I'm, you know, the classic case is some guy's like, he's on his phone and he's trying to like drink something at the same time, and he's trying to drive, and then what happens is he has a crash, because it's like you can't do all of that at the same time and be focused. You're going to crash. So it's not a very effective way. Actually, this teaching, paradoxically, although it's not about getting stuff in the world, in fact quite the opposite, will make you much more effective in the world, because there's no all of that dysfunction, all of that mental noise, the emotional baggage, all that stuff that really holds most people back from being really effective. If you can drop all that, you just go, right, there's no resistance, I'm just in the flow, and you will be told, this is what's called guidance. You just, okay, this is what I should do now. So you do it. Just do it, you know, the Nike saying. But most people don't just do it. Most people have all these blocks and obstacles in them that are, don't worry, just tune in. don't get distracted. They have all these blocks and these obstacles that are stopping them from being truly effective. Truly, like, I'm in the flow, I'm listening to guidance, and I'm just allowing life to unfold. Rather than having to make stuff happen or resist stuff or all that thought and emotion, you get into a state of flow where, okay, things just unfold, and it's quite easy, and it's quite light, it's quite natural, and in that state you're pretty happy. It's happiness in action. Flow is happiness in action. I'm acting, I'm doing various things, but I'm at peace. My mind is at peace, and I'm actually enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying whatever I'm doing, which is sort of what else would it be for? So a lot of people are looking for their purpose, and they're going, well, what's my purpose in life? I need this kind of grand, amazing purpose. I need to achieve something amazing. I need to start a business, or I need to become president of a country, or these are the things that the world sets up. But actually your purpose is just to be happy now. Where else are you going to find your purpose? There's nothing else.
Yeah, that's so profound, actually.
Even if you're a VIP, for instance. What do VIPs do? They're still just living. They get up every day, they have breakfast, they brush their teeth. Okay, now they're going to a very important meeting, and they go in a limo, but they're still walking to the limo, they're getting in, they're driving.
Just like any other.
It's just, okay, there's all this stuff going on around them, but they just have an experience. And then they go into a meeting, and they meet with the president of a country, and it's all really, they're talking high level stuff, but they're just having a conversation with another person. And even, if they achieve a great award, you go to, let's say you get the Nobel Prize, it's amazing. Well, what do? You go there, and you go to a function, and you get your prize, and then you go out on a balcony afterwards, and you're standing on a balcony. That's what you're doing. There's people going, oh wow, but you're just standing on a balcony. So what else is there but to be present now? And this is what all the masters throughout the ages have seen. It's really simple. Just be here now, be fully present now, and find this underlying peace and happiness in whatever you're doing. Just carry it with you into whatever you're doing. And then it doesn't matter so much what you're doing. You don't need the experience to make you happy. That's what most people look at. Oh, I need an experience, I need this or that or whatever to make me happy. But that's the wrong way around. Oh, I'm happy as I am, and then I carry that happiness with me into the experience, into whatever experience, because my awareness is the foundation of all my experience. It's so completely obvious, and yet such an obvious, simple truth is being missed by 99.9% of people. It's astonishing, really. But you don't have to miss it. That's the whole point. You don't have to miss this. It's right there. It's literally under your nose, in your breath. The truth is there. So it's simply, okay, are you going to pay attention to this or not? Are you going to follow this path, or are you going to follow a more worldly path? Because there's only two ways. Fortunately, there's only two alternatives. It's not like 10 or 100. It's two ways. So you choose this way, which is the way of going inward, finding awareness, bringing that awareness with you into whatever you do. You can still operate in the world. You can still be actually very effective in the world. Or you go, okay, well, I'll just do whatever everyone else does. So seek outside myself, fear and desire, be turbulated. And if you just observe the effects of those two different paths, they're very different, aren't they? People who live, worldly lives are generally not happy. In fact, they're never happy, to be honest. Even the celebrities, this is always a good one to look at. Okay, so the people who've made it, or made what is the question, but who've made it in terms of the world. Okay, so they have wealth, they have power, they have status. Everyone thinks, wow, this person's amazing. They're like they're not happy. There's a great video I'll send you. Did you ever watch it with Marisa Peer? So this woman was she is a hypnotherapist, but her clients were, the rich and famous celebrities, Princess Di, Amy Winehouse, pop stars, rock stars, movie stars, these kinds of people who everyone buys the tabloid the magazines, don't they? They're like, oh, what's Brad Pitt doing, or because we're like, somehow these people are special or something. And actually, when you look at their lives, mostly they're quite unhappy. Failed relationships, substance abuse, financial troubles, all kinds of stuff. Because as this Marisa Peer explains, said what happens is they're looking for something outside of them to make them happy. They feel damaged. They feel somehow unworthy. That's the core program. And so they go, okay, well, if I make lots of money, if I become famous, then I'll somehow feel better. I'll feel more worthy. I'll feel loved. What everyone's looking for is love. And so damaged people become celebrities because they're looking for some kind of salvation, but they look for it externally. And then the problem is they get there, I'd work really hard and whatever, they have a bit of luck, whatever, and they get there, and then they go, okay, but actually I'm still not happy. And now the problem is I don't have anywhere to go. Before I had this goal. It was right, I'm going to get there, and when I get there, then I'm going to be happy. That's the assumption the mind sets up. Now they've got there, they've got to the top of the mountain, they go, well, it's not that great. Actually, I still feel that hole. I still feel empty. And so then what happens is they have to turn to something else. And if they're looking externally, what are they going to turn to? Some kind of addiction. It's a substance, it's a relationship, it's shopping, it's whatever. Something to fill the void, to fill the hole. Sometimes multiple things. So they're addicted to multiple substances and they have multiple failed relationships. And because it's just more, but it's not working. And the only alternative to that is to go, well, actually, I am okay as I am now. I am good enough as I am right now. It's that simple. You'll never find a simpler answer to life. I am enough right now because my true awareness, which is God-given, which is created by a power that is not of, it is in me, but it's beyond just my little mind. That's perfect. That's whole. That's complete. I am that I am. That's the original name of God in the Bible, in the Old Testament, actually. I am that I am. What is that saying? You are that you are. You are actually perfect, whole, complete, as you are. There's no need to add anything, subtract anything. The only thing that's missing is your acceptance of that. That's the only problem.
So some go to an extent of changing their nose, changing
their
hips.
What's all that saying? I'm not okay as I am. So I'm going to try and make myself better by changing the body. But the body is imperfect by definition. You're never going to find happiness in the body.
And it's actually to be accepted by yourself, not necessarily to be accepted by other people, because if you're not accepting yourself, clearly you're making it as though others will not accept you. Because if you just confidently believe that you are enough, you are okay.
Absolutely. That's where it starts. No one's going to accept you until you truly accepted yourself. If the other people aren't accepting you, it's usually a mirror to say, well, you haven't really accepted yourself. So life's just a mirror. It's showing you your own beliefs. And if you're having difficulties in relationships or whatever, it's a mirror showing you, okay, well, there's some beliefs there that maybe you're not lovable, you're not acceptable, you're not worthy, other people are treating you that way. And so you can correct that. You can't change their behavior, but you can change your thinking, and you can change your emotions. You can change the way you behave. That's the only power you have. But it's a great power. You can in any situation, you can choose to see it differently. You can choose to think different thoughts. You can choose to different feelings, and you can choose to be enough, even if someone says you're not enough. Because people project their own stuff onto you.
Indeed.
But you just go, okay, but it's not really my stuff. I might have a lurking belief there, and so if you get triggered and you go, ooh, I'm getting upset or whatever, what is it showing you? Okay, well, I still kind of believe that. But if you really didn't believe it, then there'd be no charge, there'd be no trigger. And so you need to be really honest with yourself in this process. Okay, so what's really going on here? What's really happening in my mind all the time? If I'm getting triggered, it's not the other person. Okay, they might have their own stuff be projecting onto you. They might be behaving completely unreasonably and irrationally, and but okay, all you can do is go, well, how is that reflecting my beliefs about myself? And if I can see those clearly, then I'm halfway to letting them go. Because it's only really a two-step process. The first step is awareness, creating more awareness of your thoughts and emotions. That's why practice like this is really helpful. Meditation, breathwork, they create more awareness of your thoughts and emotions. And the second step is simply to choose to let go of those things that don't serve you. It's not always easy, because they kind of resonant, but by making an active choice and saying, okay, I'm going to let this go, and you can use your breath. So a really good way, just try it now. You breathe in, you hold the breath briefly, you bring to mind any thoughts or emotion. Okay, so whatever's going on in your mind, notice that, and then with the help of your breath, you just go, okay, I'm going to let that thought go. And you exhale out. And you just feel like, okay, I just let that thought go. You can imagine it's like a cloud, just dissipating, just drifting away. And it's that simple. And yet, there's a lot of practice to that. To get really skilled at this requires a lot of practice, because the thoughts and emotions, that's, you've got hardwired into a certain habitual pattern of thoughts and emotion over the course of your life, however many years that is, 30, 40 years. And so that's now hardwired, right? You've got neural circuitry, you've got the body's biochemistry. This whole system we call the body is now wired up to support that way of thinking and feeling. So now you've got to undo the hard wiring, right? The only way you do that is you go into the mind, because your mind changes your brain, and it changes the circuitry. So a lot of scientists say, no, the brain creates your consciousness. That's just not true, right? The brain is an expression of consciousness. Consciousness created the brain and the body, which means that your mind, your consciousness, can change the hard wiring, can change the neural circuitry, which is pretty amazing. You can actually change your entire physiology through your mind. This is the basis of all healing. Physical healing comes because, okay, I've just rewired stuff, I've changed, but it starts with a change of mind. You've got to change your thoughts and change your emotions, which is not that easy to do if you're hardwired to think another way, but you still have choice. It doesn't matter how hardwired you think you are, you still have the freedom to choose your thoughts and emotions in every moment. And that's where your power lies. And so a simple practice like breathwork and meditation leads you in to this idea of letting go. But you can actually choose to consciously let go of whatever it is that doesn't serve you. You get really skilled at just going, okay, we're going to drop the thoughts and emotion, because that's all anything ever is. It's your own thought and your own emotion that are causing you all your pain and suffering. It's not the thing itself. Okay, you got a body condition. Okay, but it's all the emotion that you have around that. Ooh, is this serious? Is this life-threatening? Am I going to die? Look at what's happened with COVID. It's extraordinary. Just look at how people's minds get obsessed by this. So the virus is really in the mind, isn't it? If we'd all gone, well, okay, this really isn't that big a deal. Just take some reasonable precautions, but just carry on. But we've been programmed, some of us anyway, into now a way of thinking that is totally mind-based. This is just your own mind's perception of stuff. Is there really a virus, or are we making it all up? It's just fear. So it's an excuse for fear and control. And you see how this plays out on a societal level. Now everyone's wearing masks. A year and a half ago, it was like no one wore masks. So what's really changed? Has anything really changed? Or is it just our beliefs that have changed? That's all that's really changed. And the news gives us evidence, and it's like, really? Is there really a pandemic, or actually this is all just happening in the mind? Now you have a choice though. Do you believe this or not? Because that's your only power. You either believe what everyone else is believing, the mass psychology, or you go, hang on, like, maybe there's another way of looking at this. And in the other way, the alternative way, there lies your freedom. Because you'll never find it in the mass psychosis. So any questions? I've talked enough. Anything you...
So how does meditation differ from yoga? What is the purpose of yoga? Is it for the body?
Very good question. So yoga really is much more than just physical postures. It's much more than what we've made it in the West. So you go to a yoga studio, you do a class, you do a bit of breathing. Some teachers don't really even focus on the breath, just like do the postures. Okay, that's called asanas in yoga. It's one limb of an 8-limbed system. Okay, so there's 8 parts to this. Original yoga was developed over thousands of years, but it was written down by a guy called Patanjali, who formalized it. It was probably the first personal development or spiritual growth system to be formalized in the world. Okay, it's a system for uniting you. Yoga means to yoke or to unite. To unite you with what? Well, with your source. It's a methodology to take you systematically, to train your mind to take you back to an awareness of your source, right? Divine creator, source, God, whatever you want to call it, Brahman, they called it in the Eastern tradition. Whatever you want to call that. To unite you with who you really are, your true self. Know thyself. So it's part of it, like really yoga is great, do it, but do it with an awareness that this is just a part of a bigger puzzle. This is one of these spiritual practices I'm doing that's gonna lead me back to an awareness of myself. This is not just a physical workout. A lot of people say, I'm going to yoga, okay, have a bit of sweat, do a bit of stretching. No, it's much deeper than that. Actually, the original asanas were meditation postures. All of this was preparation for deep meditation, because these yogis and mystics, they understood that in deep meditation you could go deep into your mind, and you could connect with your source, and you could connect with the divine, and that was the union that they were seeking. And they spent hours and hours and hours in meditation. So like, I'm just going deeper, I'm clearing my mind, I'm purifying my mind, I'm letting go of all these distractions, using things like breath work, pranayama. That's another aspect of yoga, another limb of yoga. So all these things, there's 4 foundational precepts of yoga: pranayama, asanas, yama and niyama, which are really just observances. It's saying, okay, so you're gonna live cleanly, right? You're not going to drink too much, smoke, intoxicants, alcohol, substances those lower your consciousness. They will prevent you from going deeper into yourself. Just the way you treat other people. You don't steal, you don't lie, you don't cheat. Because how can you attain like great spiritual awareness if you're doing all that stuff? It's like you're on a very low level if you're still doing this. So those were the foundations for, and then that led you into deeper meditation. Pratyahara, so that was the fifth one. That was withdrawal of the senses. You just did that. Sat here and you just, okay, I'm going to go within, focus within, and you found maybe you weren't even noticing the noise at times. Right? There's lots of noise going, but you didn't really notice it. That's withdrawal of the senses. You're going within. So it's taking your attention and focusing it inward rather than outward. That's what pratyahara does, which prepares you for meditation. So dharana and dhyana are aspects of meditation. So just focused meditation, which is what you did there. You just focused on your breath. Just by doing that, you go deeper into a state where, if you do that for a period of time, you can go into a very deep contemplative state where you're actually just going into source. There's no, your mind is not distracted anymore. It's just one awareness. And at the top of it, they attain what's called samadhi, which is a state of enlightenment, where you're absolutely peaceful, you're absolutely happy, and there's nothing else going on in your mind. And that's a state that people like Buddha and Jesus attained, and they were able to stay there consistently, which is a remarkable achievement, because it's not that easy. Notice how your mind's jumping around. Any moment you could have a thought and it just knocks you out of that state. So it takes consistent practice just to stay there, be rooted in that. But it's absolutely worth it, because, well, what else are you going to do? What is the purpose of your life other than to be happy? And is there another way to find happiness? I guess that's the question everyone's got to ask and answer. Because if there really is no other way, then there's no choice, is there? It's like, okay, well, I've got to go within to find it. I'm not going to find it outside. If that's not going to work, then to keep seeking for it outside of myself and not finding it is completely futile. I'm just hitting my head against the brick wall. And then I'm blaming the wall. I'm going, oh, this wall's really hard. Bang! Hit my head again. Bang! It's like, well, stop hitting your head. It's not working. Try something else. That's funny, but we do these things, don't we? It's like we try the same thing over and over, and it's not working.
People cut themselves.
Some people cut themselves. Yeah, some people do. It's like, okay, well, any relief, what it does is it relieves the tension and the stress in their mind. By feeling that pain, it's like, okay, I get a release. So it's a way of letting go. Everyone wants release, ultimately. Or all the dysfunctions of the world are inappropriate ways of people letting go, if you really think about it. Okay, so why do you take substances? Why do you drink too much? Why do you smoke? Well, you want some release, so you use the substance to give you a temporary release. And that works temporarily, but the problem is, if you're relying on something outside of you, well, what happens? You need more of it. So now I need more. So you're just in the same cycle of desire and craving. It's not really going to work. That's addiction. The truth is, we're all actually addicted. We're addicted to the world. That's the problem. If you think about it, we're addicted to the world. Whether it's, in whatever way, shape, or form that shows up in our experience. And so freeing yourself from that craving, from that addiction, and the fear, and the pain, and the suffering that goes along with it is the whole human journey. That's what you're here to do. And there's no other way. You're not going to find another way than this. There's many spiritual paths. I'm not saying like watching your breath and letting go is the only one, but ultimately they all lead to the same place. You have to drop all of that stuff. You have to let go in one way or another, however you're going to do that. So, in all of my studies and all of my teaching, and that's the simple realization I've come to. There's one simple thing you've got to master. And if you can do that, you can be happy, you can be peaceful, and ultimately, you free yourself entirely from this whole thing. Right? We call this the world, the universe of time and space. Ultimately, this takes you out of the whole thing, beyond the human condition entirely. That's where it's leading. But when you leave the body, we call that death. That's going to happen anyway in time. What's important is like right now that you live with awareness, that you live in a way that's happy and peaceful and functional and actually adds value to people and helps people. It doesn't create more dysfunction and pain and suffering in the world. And then you teach your kids. So that the next generation are like, okay, so they're not messed up by their parents like, so many generations before. So
it's also a saying that says, be the change that you want to see.
Gandhi, yeah. Be the change you want to see in the world, which is an abbreviation of what he actually said, but yeah. Be the change. So you want a more peaceful world? Well, you need to be more peaceful yourself. There's no point going, I laugh when you see people protesting for peace. An anti-war demonstration. Okay, how does that work exactly? So there's anger and violence, and you're demonstrating against anger and violence. So, Mother Teresa was once asked, would you join in an anti-war demonstration or protest? And she thought about it and she said, no, but I would join in a peaceful gathering, which is an important distinction. It's like, okay, I choose peace. Yes, that means I'm choosing against war, but I'm not anti-war. I'm not like, right, I'm opposing this, because now I'm in resistance, now I'm in opposition. So it's just by choosing peace, by doing these kinds of practices, well, you're making a difference in the world in your own way. And then maybe you feel the call to go, okay, well, maybe I can share this, or maybe I just carry this with me into my daily life. So in all my interactions, I'm more peaceful, I'm happier, and I sort of spread that. And if you do that, you'll find that you're more successful in the world. It's more peace, more happiness kind of comes your way, and there's more flow in your life. Because people resonate with that. Do you both run businesses? You're a student, okay. So you're still deciding what you're going to do. That's good. So I know Lisa runs a business. What?
I'm doing my master's.
Okay. In what?
Science and medicine.
Okay. Oh. So any plans for career choices?
Oh, so right now I basically have my own tutoring thing going on.
Okay.
But I want to go into public health.
Okay. So whatever you choose to do, you then take your presence with you. You go, okay, so how can I make a difference in public health?